Yo, what is up, guys? This is the real. I'm still used to saying that. Good start. This is Real American Josh here, and I am here. Okay, I'm doing the playoff video. So, yeah. All right. So in the AFC, the number one seed, the 13-3 Jaguars, the number 2 seed, the 11-5 Patriots, number 3 seed, the 11-5 Broncos, the number 4 seed, the Steelers, who went 10-6, number 5 seed, the Texans, who went 11-5, and the 6 seed, the Dolphins, who went 10-6. So in the first round, the Dolphins traveled to Denver. I'm not gonna get into like the last time we traveled there. We choked away a win. We just choked. But basically, I've got the Dolphins winning 20-10. I think the Dolphins offense is good enough to overcome the Broncos defense, and also like think about it. Case Keenum in the play, like last year, he made a lot of mistakes. He basically should have lost the Saints game. They had a pretty lucky play. But he made mistakes, and especially against the Eagles, he got dominated. And basically, I think the Dolphins win this game 20-10, and the pressure gets to Case Keenum because the Broncos line is not great, and basically the Dolphins are able to. The defense just has one too many plays. They get tired, and maybe the Dolphins are able to run the ball with that three-headed monster in the backfield. Add in some read option with Tannehill. Tannehill can make a few throws against that secondary, which he was doing, by the way. He was making throws against that secondary back in 2014. Like Chris Harris, Aqib Talib, he was making throws against that secondary, so don't count him out. All right, so basically the next matchup, the 5-seed Texans travel to face the 4-seed Steelers. And if you know anything about the Steelers as of late, it seems like the Steelers, they can't win the playoffs. They cannot overcome, anything to even, they lost the AFC title game. They lost to the Jaguars in the playoffs last year. A few years ago, I think 2014, they lost to the Ravens. 2015, they lost to the Broncos. They just cannot seem to overcome their playoff problems. Now, this is Deshaun Watson's first appearance in the playoffs and the first appearance for the Texans in a couple of years, since 2016. And Brock Osweiler somehow led them to a playoff win. We're not going to get into that. The only reason they even won the game was because Derek Carr was hurt. If Derek Carr had played, Oakland probably would have crushed Brock Osweiler-led Houston Texans. But that defense was still good, so we don't know that necessarily. But basically, I've got the Texans winning a pretty high-scoring 35-31 game, a very exciting game. Extremely exciting game. It comes down to the wire. But Deshaun Watson, he's shown he was clutch against my Alabama Crimson Tide in that national title game in 2017. He showed some clutchness there. 2017. And once again, he shows some clutchness. Once again. Alright, so basically in the second round, the 6-seeded Dolphins travel to face the number 1-seeded Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Dolphins are looking for revenge. They got absolutely embarrassed in week 16 of the regular season by the Jaguars. Now, 3 weeks later, they're playing the Jaguars again. Unfortunately, I don't think my Dolphins can beat the Jaguars. That defense is way too good. That offense is just way more formidable than the Broncos' defense. Yes, I'm a Dolphins fan, but I'm not so biased for the Dolphins that I'm going to say they're going to go to the Super Bowl and win it, because that is not realistic at all. It may not even be realistic that they make the playoffs. We don't know yet. We don't know how the season's going to go. We don't know if, the team's going to remain healthy, if it's going to remain looking solid. We don't know that. We don't know if the Jaguars will remain solid. Like, injuries could pile up for anybody. You know, obviously, like in the Buccaneers video I made the schedule and all that. In the predictions before I knew Jameis Winston was suspended. You know, like, I mean, you know, that's just how it is, you know. But like I said, the Jaguars win this game. Maybe it might be tied at 16, but Leonard Fournette gets a late touchdown run, and or maybe the Dolphins trail 23-9 and they come back and score a touchdown, but the defense is just pounded on by Leonard Fournette. Like, the Jacksonville offense and defense is just too formidable. They're a lot more talented than my Dolphins, unfortunately. All right, so the other game, the 5-seeded Texans travel to face the 2-seeded New England Patriots, and you know, yes, Deshaun Watson was clutch against Pittsburgh, but I mean, it's the Patriots in the playoffs at home. They don't lose. Patriots win this game 30-17. I think maybe the game's really close. The Texans give them all they want, but in the end, the Patriots they're just, you know, Tom Brady. You know, they find ways to win in the playoffs, and that's just how it is. So, in the AFC title game, the 2-seeded Patriots travel to face the 1-seeded Jaguars, and the Jaguars, once again, they're facing the refs. I mean, but I'm not going to sit here and blatantly accuse the Patriots of cheating, the refs of being extremely biased towards the Patriots. Like, yes, I think there are some odd calls, especially in the playoffs, that go their way. But, you know, that's just not how it's going to be. I've got Jaguars overcoming adversity. You know, being a young team that's playing a really experienced playoff team, they overcome adversity and become AFC champions, 31-24. And what I really think, they got a really good offensive line going against a Patriots team that, here's the key now, Patriots team that lacks pass rush. The only real good pass rusher on the Patriots is Trey Flowers, and Trey Flowers was actually picked to be the Patriot player to make his first Pro Bowl this year. I agree with that. Trey Flowers is a really good player. But the problem with that is, if you don't have any pass rush from those side, if teams were smart, they'd just double up on Trey Flowers. Heck, even triple up on him. But if you can double up on him to prevent him from rushing the passer, what happens? You can bring your halfback out of the backfield to catch passes, you know. And Leonard Fournette, he's not extremely great with that though. So T.J. Yeldon, he's shown ability that he can catch passes out of the backfield though, and that could be a key part with the Jaguars, is having a T.J. Yeldon who can catch passes out of the backfield. I'll never forget that play T.J. Yeldon made against LSU back in 2012. As an Alabama fan, I was so disappointed because I thought we were about to lose that game, and then T.J. Yeldon catches the ball and takes it 25 yards for a touchdown, you know. But anyways, like I said, Jaguars win 31-24. Now, let's move on to the NFC playoffs. In the NFC playoffs, the top seed is the Vikings. They hold the tiebreaker over the Eagles, who are the number 2 seed. The number 3 seed was the Panthers. By the way, Vikings and Eagles both went 12-4. Panthers went 11-5. The 4 seed Rams went 10-6. The 5 seed Saints went 11-5, and the 6 seed Falcons went 10-6. All right, so in the first round, you have the 6 seeded Atlanta Falcons. Remember, the Falcons were in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. We're not going to talk about what happened. The Panthers were in the Super Bowl 3 years ago. We're not going to talk about what happened. I mean, actually we will, because I wanted the Broncos to win that game. I wanted Peyton to go out with the Super Bowl. You know, so I can appreciate that. And Falcons, I really wanted to beat the Patriots, and I thought it was going to happen, but yeah. So, Basically, the Falcons take the Falcons are just a slightly more talented team than the Panthers. Like, don't ask me why they couldn't get past the Panthers in the regular season. I believe the Panthers swept them. But the Falcons get revenge here. They win 21-17, maybe a late touchdown pass by Matt Ryan, a game-winning drive. But they do. Like, the Panthers, they got a decent secondary, but their secondary is not completely unstoppable like it was when Josh Norman was in it. Josh Norman was almost unstoppable as a cornerback, you know. So, I give the edge to the Falcons here. You know, Cam Newton, like, for some reason, like in big playoff games like this, the guy just never seems to perform extremely well. Like, he did when they made this run to the Super Bowl, but other than that, he's never been an extremely great playoff performer. You know, like, that's the only thing I can say about him. He's never been a great playoff performer. So basically, Falcons move on. They'll face the number 1 seeded Vikings in the next round. More on that later. Alright, so in the next game, you got the 4 seeded Rams at home against the 5 seeded Saints. The Rams are a really good team, and they really disappointed this year. They're 10-6. The Saints are better than them, but they beat the Saints in the regular season, and they do it again here. 31-21, a 10-point victory over the Saints. The Rams overall, they came into the game with a chip on their shoulder because they were projected as the NFC's top team, possibly better than the Eagles, better than the Vikings, better than the Saints, Falcons, Panthers, everybody. You know? So, to know that they lost 6 games this season, they only won 4 more than they lost, yeah, they have a slight chip on their shoulder. And they go out and they crush the Saints. Maybe the Saints get a garbage time touchdown or 2, but I mean, the Rams really come together as a team. They decide, hey, you know, we want this Super Bowl, and we are going to try our best to get it. And they crush the Saints. So basically, in the next round, there's not much to say on this game. It's the 1 seed Vikings, 6 seed Falcons. Vikings crush the Falcons 38-14. I think Kirk Cousins could make the difference. You know, that defense for Minnesota going up against the offense for Atlanta. Defense wins championships. Defense, in this case, wins this game. Defense over offense every day. Alright, so the 4-seeded Rams have to travel to Philadelphia to face the Eagles. And remember, in the regular season, the Eagles crushed the Rams in Los Angeles. And they do it again in Philadelphia, 31-13. I just think the Eagles, like, they got a chip on their shoulder now, too. You got 2 teams with a chip on their shoulder facing off, and the Eagles' chip is bigger because they have more pressure. They won a Super Bowl last year, and now they're sitting as the number 2 seed after going 13-3 and winning the top seed last year. Nah. They're not having it. 31-13, they crushed the Rams. And in the NFC title game, alright, Vikings in the regular season got revenge for last year's NFC title game. The Eagles, they got a chip on their shoulder because last year they was number 1 and Vikings were number 2. Now the Vikings are number 1 and they're number 2. The Eagles ride that momentum to a 38-35. Yes, a high-scoring game in this one. High-scoring game. Eagles ride that momentum to a 38-35 victory and a Super Bowl berth once again. Alright. Now it's come to the Super Bowl. 2 of the best pass rushing teams in the NFL going against, 2 of the best offensive lines in the NFL. Like, wow, what better can you ask for? Ultimately, the Jaguars prevail in this game in a pretty exciting 34-27 battle. Alright. You know, I'm going to say it's 34-28. 34-28. Blake Bortles actually in the Super Bowl leads a late game drive. I know. I get it. Blake Bortles. It's Blake Bortles. Hey, I'm telling you, Blake Bortles, he has the potential to be a franchise quarterback, and he's going to fill that I can't talk. That potential this year, Blake Bortles wins a Super Bowl in Duval, Saxonville. All right, the Jaguars, they get to Carson Wentz some. You know, it's not going to be Nick Foles this year. It's going to be Carson Wentz. They get to Carson Wentz, though, a couple of times. And those couple of sacks, maybe a turnover for the Eagles, makes the difference. But the Jaguars do win. So, basically, guys, that's going to wrap it up. Obviously, your worst team in the NFL was the 2-14 Colts. Like, I'm sorry, Colts fans, you know, but, like, your team's just not good, okay? The best team in the NFL ends up being the Jaguars, so you got the best and worst team from the AFC South. Oh, and wait, if you do the comparison here, the Jaguars should win because they came from a tougher division than the Eagles. The Eagles played in a pretty bad division. You know, the Redskins were the second best team at 7-9. That's a 5-game difference between number 1 and number 2. When there was literally a 1-game difference between number 1, 12-4 Jacksonville, 11-5 Houston, and number 2 and number 3, you got 11-5 Houston, 10-6 Tennessee, and then you got that 2-14 team in the end. But I mean, yeah, Jacksonville wins the Super Bowl. So there you have it, guys. Real American Josh out. Peace.